So I took the day off yesterday after making my BJ Penn update. I went in deep into that research, the Hawaii mental facility laws and rights. I put everything in the description. So if you did not see that video the other day, it is a longer one, but if you care about BJ Penn and you want to know what's going on, go check it out. But I have a new rant. I have a new video right here, and it's about how Dana White made fighting a dirty word. Now, my WWE fans, WWF fans, if you know, you know, but the inspiration of this video comes from none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Paul Heyman. Now, a lot of you guys may be like, who the hell is Paul Heyman? Well, Paul Heyman owned ECW. He was running that for 6 years. He's been a manager mostly at WWE, but he worked his way up. A little backstory that I can give you. Grew up around the WWF, WWE as a photographer at a young age. Was really close to Vince McMahon's father. Um, Met Dusty Rhodes and worked his way up the wrestling world. Became Paulie Dangerous in WCW. Made ECW, was around for 6 years. And then, the Monday Night Wars, the Dismember. I'm going to leave the exact interview they gave me the idea for this video. I watch it every few months. It comes up to my feed. I just like listening to this guy. This guy really made me look at combat sports and sports entirely in a whole different way. Now he became a commentator when he came over to WWE. Had a feud with Jim Ross, became a manager to Brock Lesnar. We all know Brock Lesnar, CM Punk. CM Punk came over to the UFC for 2 fights. Did not go well. Kurt Angle and many more. He was managing Stone Cold Steve Austin a bit. He's managing Seth Rollins and newer star Roman Reigns, and his 3 year title reign. And now he is also an executive in this company. He is very high up. He was running Monday Night Raw. He was the one writing the scripts and producing it. So now that you know who Paul Heyman is, what are the similarities between Paul Heyman and Dana White? Well, both of them started as managers. Those of you that are new to the sport, maybe you don't know, Dana White started off as a manager. He started off as a boxing instructor, actually. And then he started to manage two fighters by the name of Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell. Now, you guys know that Dana and Tito are not on good terms. I don't think they will ever be on good terms again. But you know what, Chuck Liddell, he was the first major star the sport had, and he brought in a lot of the casual fan base. They both became owners of promotions. Paul Heyman owned ECW. Dana White owns the UFC along with the Fertitas, now TKO. Both got screwed by Vince McMahon at some point, and now are both on executives under TKO. And the reason I bring this up is because I've been watching a bit of WWE content lately on YouTube. And WWE fans are experiencing the same thing we are, a lackluster product, very predictable writing, very predictable matchups. And I know UFC is supposed to not be scripted, supposed to be not predetermined. At some point, with these judges, man, kind of looks like it. But now you know why I'm bringing Paul Heyman into this. Very similar guy when it comes to his road to TKO and the WWE. But do you remember this? Do you remember this very bored a photo for some reason where they had all of the champions up on the stage at once? This I watched an MMA on Point video the other day, and you see Shogun, or no, it's not Shogun. King Velasquez is up there, John Jones, Anderson Silva, GSP, Frankie Edgar, Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz. All of these guys are Hall of Famers. If they are in the Hall of Fame, they're still fighting and they will be inducted into the Hall of Fame as soon as they're. I think mostly everyone up here is a fight in the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. But you remember when we got all the champions on one stage? We got a question and answer with all of them. Where did this go? This is one of the things that built the sport. This is one of the things that the UFC was doing better than boxing. The promotion. Dana White, the Don King of MMA, right? Whatever happened to these interviews? This infamous interview in a dark room with John Jones and DC back at the peak of their rivalry. Both of these guys hated each other. Both of these guys brought out the worst, the best, however you want to say it, out of each other. And these are probably number one and number two white heavyweights of all time, right? Daniel Cormier only losing to Jones twice. Second one overturned by a positive drug test. And then he went 1-2 with Stipe Miocic. Whatever happened to these sit downs? Why can't we do these sit downs when we are now a multi-billion-dollar company? We now are a part of ESPN now. Well, for now, where did these go? And it's not like these are that old. It's not like they were just doing it back then for John Jones, Daniel Cormier. They were doing it for Jorge Masvidal and Darren Till a few years back. And this built that fight. Darren Till, a lot like the newer fighters, and we're gonna get into the Dana White Contenders series. I forgot if I even made a slide for it. But you know, yeah, Darren Till, I believe, coming off his loss to Tyron Woodley, got a major push by the UFC, and then he was given Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal won this fight, went on to be Gamebred Masvidal, the BMF champion, fighting losing twice. But this interview was one of the catalysts that made this fight so big, that made Jorge Masvidal as big of a star as he was. He was out there with Conor McGregor. A random, and I mean this with the utmost respect, a random journeyman came up, passed all these champions, passed all of these young guys, right? And that was how they were promoting Jorge Masvidal. That was constant videos, constant interviews between them, and mainly this face-off. You guys remember the old school presentation, right? Every pay-per-view would start off with Face the Pain. I think they still do that live. You would get insane promo packages. Like, you guys remember when Israel Adesanya fought Yoel Romero, when Yoel Romero lost that fight to Paulo Costa, which was a banger fight. The fight sucked. But go back and watch that promo. Damn, dude. That promo got you hyped. That promo made you think, damn, we're about to see two killers go in. And it worked, right? The fight wasn't that good, but the promotion was insane. Not getting commercial breaks during corner breaks. I am fucking sick and tired of this. I don't know how many times I've ranted on this before, But if you've seen any of my live streams, um, you know it pisses me off that we no longer get to hear the corner unless it's on a pay per view. We no longer get to hear about the minor adjustments that coaches want their fighters to make. Again, this is a part of the presentation. But no, we need to watch a well simple advertisement 50 times every single corner stoppage. We need to see the well simple trade. Maybe it's a different commercial for you. I also get is it Skip or DoorDash? A fucking weird one where a bunch of fat people are dancing towards the door. Yeah. The fans chose the stars. Now, I want to say that again. The fans chose the stars. John Jones, Ronda Rousey, Daniel Cormier, GSP, Anderson Silva. I'm not saying they had no boost from the company itself, but all of these fighters became the biggest fighters off of the fans loving them, loving their style, loving their mic skills, loving what they accomplish in the sport. Compare the way they promote Sean O'Malley to GSP, one of the goats of the sport, maybe the greatest of all time. It's up to you where you put him on your list. But again, where's that kind of promotion? Where is, the presentation that this is fighting? Dana White says that he wants to compete with football, hockey, basketball. I don't want MMA to turn into just another major sport like it is today. Where is this Dana White? This infamous clip that I could not find a picture higher than 2040p resolution. But you guys remember this clip if you haven't seen it. He was talking about the Kimball Slice, Seth Petrozelli fight where I think was it Elite Secret on that fight? I forgot who it was. Well, basically, they paid Seth Petrozelli to stand with him. They didn't want to grapple with him. And he ended up knocking out Kimbo Slice because Kimbo Slice was a street fighter. He wasn't an MMA fighter. Now, I'm not discrediting how Kimbo Slice impacted the sport of MMA. But again, the emotion that Dana White put in this interview is more emotion than Dana White has put into his sport in the last 3 years. Well, the last 2 years for sure. You guys remember the Steve Mazzagatti rant? Now, I'm going to do you a favor. If you've never watched this fight, I will link it down, or watch this interview. I will link it down below. This is one of the most iconic Dana White rants. This is what made the sport what it was a few years ago, where Dana White himself did not give a shit. Dana White would voice his opinion. If you had a shit fight, if you had a shit call, you were going to hear about it at the press conference. And everybody was out there during the press conference. You had fighters, you had losers. It was the exact same as the pre-fight press conferences that are now only 20 minutes max. When Dana White hosts them, they're 12 minutes usually. Well, I don't know. He did nearly go for 30 minutes, and the one where he was acting very weird. Um, but yeah, The Ultimate Fighter. Now, I love Daniel Cormier. I love Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen is the guy that built this game that I'm trying to chase, right, with the YouTube thing. But you guys remember The Ultimate Fighter Season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? It used to be a killer reality show. It honestly did. Yeah, at Ultimate Fighter 1, the finale between Braun and Griffin, that Dana White, all the time credit for saving the UFC. What do we got up here as well? We got, Chris Graben, Anderson Silva's first fight in the UFC. You got Josh Koscheck. Um, isn't Kenny Florian? Yeah, Kenny Florian over there. Diego Sanchez. Yeah, that's all I can remember at this point. But now you get Chael Sonnen versus Daniel Cormier. Not even a fight that's gonna happen after the Ultimate Fighter, because typically at the end of every Ultimate Fighter season, the coaches would fight one another, except for very few exceptions, like the Conor McGregor Uriah Faber one, because Uriah Faber's 135, and Connor was 145. Might have even been in 155 around then. I don't remember. But who watches The Ultimate Fighter? Genuinely, when was the last season of The Ultimate Fighter that you watched live as it came out? You watched it on Spike. I don't think I've watched a single one, a single of the newer seasons. I'll always go back and watch those older ones. I grew up on that shit. It's fucking hilarious. It's golden entertainment. And a lot of those guys go on to become champions, go on to become some of the most important fighters in the sport. Media days. They are required to go to every media day. But we don't get any big questions. We don't get, you know, we only get 20 minutes of each fighter, which I get it. They need to spend time cutting weight training. We get garbage question after garbage question. You could predict media day. I don't really watch many interviews anymore. I will only watch an interview if it's another YouTuber or if it's, MMA junkie or something like that. Media days are fucking horrific now. Look at the UFC 316 pre-fight press conference. The shortest press conference ever. They're encouraged to do interviews. Nina Drama. Which, hey, she has her method. She has her way of making money. But again, I don't want to be thirst trapped when I'm trying to hear from my favorite fighters. When I'm trying to hear about their mindset going into these fights. Now, the good thing is that a lot of these fighters have their own social media. They have YouTube, they have Instagram, they have Twitter, they got TikTok, they got whatever it is. But again, the UFC is a multi-billion-dollar organization. They can do more than Dana White announcing fights on Instagram. They can do more than Alexander Volkanovski having to sit down on his couch and break down his own fight. Now, I love watching Volk's breakdowns. I love watching Demetrius Johnson's breakdowns. But again, dude, the promotion should be coming from the promotion, right? Is that too crazy to ask for? I threw up the pound for pound rankings, right? You got Islam at 1, Marab all the way at 2 now, John Jones at 3, Elias Poirier at 4, he'll probably jump up if he beats Oliveira. You got Dricus Duplessis, who will he'll either jump up or Hamza Live will take him. Uncle Ive just won the belt. He's going to fight Alex Pereira. You got Volkanovski making his way back up there. Jack Della just broken at number 8. Pereira just was bumped down to number 9. Pantoja's at Aspinall, Holloway. Bilal Muhammad, Charles Oliveira. Armand Sarukian, which is being blocked. Who makes these rankings? And why is this the only thing we can go to really see or get an idea of who is at the top of the sport? Not everybody is a hardcore fan. Not everybody is going to watch every event from opening prelim to main event, right? What the fuck are we doing here? Like this ESPN, these last 4 years on ESPN, this fucking sport could be massive. This fucking sport could be rivaling NHL. I think NHL would be the easiest one to rival because it's mainly a Canadian sport. I heard that American ratings are down during the playoffs. Dana White, UFC, TKO, they fumbled the last 4 years. And there's no way around it. Which brings me to the point of this video. You made wrestling a dirty word. Paul Heyman, November 5th, 2001, Albany, New York. This was the infamous shoot promo. Now, I highly encourage you to go watch both the shoot promo and then the interview of Paul Heyman, I'm Leaving You. And basically, to sum it up, if you're not going to watch it, Vince McMahon, Paul Heyman, Michael Hayes, a few other people were on a jet flying to their next city for their next show. And Michael Hayes told Vince McMahon, if you ever want somebody to rip you an asshole, Paul Heyman will do it and he'll rip you one yay big. Paul Heyman is hilarious. He does a much better job at telling the story than I did. But this was a big point in WWE, right? This is Paul Heyman after Vince McMahon bought out his company, destroyed his company. This was Paul Heyman getting the opportunity in character to go off on Vince McMahon, and he went deep. He and one of the things he was harping on was wrestling versus sports entertainment. Wrestling versus sports entertainment, right? And he went deep. The storyline of this, like he turned Vince's daughter and son against him. They did it multiple times before, but they never did both of them at the same time. And this is one of the biggest storylines. And then you got later down the road Vince McMahon, his character passing away. Now, I get when you bring up Vince's name now, it is a tarnished legacy. I'm not going to get into everything that happened with him, but there are some interesting things coming about the case. Maybe I'll make a video on it down the road. Well, we are an MMA channel. Point being, this pipe bomb, this shoot promo, what's a shoot promo? A shoot promo means no script. You go out there and you're just shooting at the crowd and you're trying to make something off the top of your head. But this is exactly what the UFC needs. This is exactly the type of energy that I want to see from other YouTubers. I want to see from other promotions. Don Davis, fucking GFL, any of these, you know, regionals. These are the changes that Dana White has made to this sport. Ultimate fighters, athletes, being the best in the world, competing with major sports. You see the difference here? Now, I'm not saying fighters are not athletes. They are athletes. They are actually some of the greatest athletes. They need to be good at everything. Being the best sport in the world is what I grew up. Dana White was saying all the time. This is the greatest sport in the world. This sport sells holy shit moments. Does it anymore? Is this the best sport in the world? I believe it is. Is it getting the best promotion in the world? Fuck no. Watching a fight, you're sitting down, you're watching a cage fight. You're watching two guys go at it, two girls go at it. Watching mixed martial arts. Wait, like you see what I'm getting at here? They mean the same thing, but it changes the tone of the sport, doesn't it? It changes the way that you perceive it. The best fight the best. The one thing that this entire sport, the one thing that we had over boxing, the best fight the best. Now we'll see. We'll see if John Jones Thomas gets done. We'll see if Alex Pereira comes back for a rematch. We'll see if we get JDM versus Islam Makhachev. We'll see whenever we announce DDP and Hamza Chimaev. You see the difference here? You see how changing the vocabulary made fighting a dirty word? They don't really say fighting as much as they used to. Now, I'm not saying they don't. I know that somebody's going to pull up, an interview of Dana White or Chael Sonnen or one of those stupid ESPN shows and be like, oh, they said fighting 58 times. But most of you see what I'm getting at, right? We're changing the vocabulary has impacted the sport in a way that I believe is very detrimental. We're losing that old school feel. And I get it. We don't want this to be human cockfighting anymore. We want people to appreciate mixed martial arts. But at the same time, it's a business. It's a promotion. It's entertainment. It is sports entertainment. Every sport is entertainment. Whether it's scripted, whether it's real, whether it's basketball, football, whatever. But again, why are we moving away from what the sport really is to be like every other sport, right? And then we get to this gem, right? You guys remember I made my video on this? Dana White doesn't give a press conference for, what was it, 2 or 3 months. He comes back at UFC 316 and he's talking with a little bit of a lisp. He clearly is, trolling the crowd in that. He's asked all the heavy hitting questions, and he either gives a petty answer like he did with Francis Ngannou, or it was just a non answer. Again, doesn't want to say Tom Aspinall's name, doesn't want to promote the fights, doesn't want to be there. Now, this is the end of my slideshow. Fighting is now a dirty word. The word fighting, Ultimate Fighter, Dana White has made it a dirty word. Dana White has changed this sport and every other sport when it should be the sport. Well, I don't know. I watched this interview last night. I had this idea. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree with me that Dana White has made fighting a dirty word? Go check out the Paul Heyman interview if you never have. Even if you are not a WWE fan at all, you're gonna love Paul Heyman. But that's not go for you. Come hang out during the fights tonight. I'll hopefully go live. Um, Around the time they start, I want to say right as they start, but that's what I got. Thank you for watching. Love you all. Later.